Good afternoon and welcome to the Alex Urbina radio show. We're broadcasting live from Newhall, California, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. I'm in studio. My lovely co-host, Ellen Tunick, is not here today. She's probably on a well-deserved vacation, which I need to go on pretty soon. But I do have Andrew Delgado, our board op and show producer, hanging out with me in the studio. Thanks for being here today, Andrew. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Teen Life Leadership Training. It's a very powerful 2-day training workshop that I've designed and created a little over 24 years ago, and I've been facilitating it all over the country, different parts of the world, for different communities, schools, educational systems, as well as transformational training centers. And it's a pretty beautiful experience to have your teenager go through a 2-day workshop where they're introduced to a self-awareness, and it's the beginning of a hero's journey for a young person to really be open-minded and willing to look at themselves, open and honest about how they feel, what they're thinking. It really has them examine all of their own fears and insecurities that might be getting in the way of them reaching their full potential and really creating an extraordinary life for themselves. And I don't know any other place that you can get that kind of an awakening or wake-up call. I'm not saying that because I facilitate these trainings, but it's a pretty unique experience. And if you don't know about it, or if no one's ever told you about it, or you don't trust it yet, or whatever it might be, you might not ever have that experience, and your kids might not ever have that kind of experience or awakening. But it's pretty profound. And the reason why I know that is because I had my own awakening through a transformational training 25 years ago at the early age of 23 years old that really just woke me up to the core and opened my eyes to really see things that I couldn't see before. And I think that's one of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves as well as our kids, is an awakening to really be able to examine their own belief system and look at their perspectives and the way that they look at the world and interpret the world, what's good, bad, right, wrong, because a lot of those judgments get in the way of us accessing more of the things that are going to support us in our life. And so if we can find a way to get our kids into some kind of a program or an experience where they really get empowered and inspired to look at themselves, as well as have an opportunity to cathartically release and let go of a bunch of baggage that they didn't know they had, I'm signing my kids up. And I'm so grateful and blessed to be in the position to facilitate these types of trainings and workshops. And I don't see it as a job. I see it as just, an honor to be able to be in the training room and create that kind of environment for kids. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is what do we do in the training room and what that looks like. Because, twice a year I facilitate my own workshops here in the city of Santa Clarita. And I've been doing that for the last 5 years, offering them to our community here. Because for the rest of the year, every year, I'm always in different cities all across the country at other communities, helping support them and doing trainings for other venues. And so I'm really excited to announce that this year we're going to start off our first teen training here in Santa Clarita, February 15th and 16th. And I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits about the teen training.
All right. And teen training, I wish I would have done this. Because I know I've done, the radio show for so long, and I've heard all the stories, and it's only beneficial. I can only say it's only beneficial.
When you say, I wish I would have done it, what intrigues you about it? From a young adult perspective, looking back.
Well, from a young adult, we think, and I'm speaking as, the young adult, that we kind of know everything, and it's that time, the adolescent stage, teenagers, that you got the world figured out, pretty much, kind of. And that you know what's going on. But in your way is the right way, and even your parents or anybody like that, they're wrong. But this is just kind of doing these class and trainings opens up, that new perspective, and the new kind of takes you a step back and allows you to view, that different side of things. And again, it's not saying you're right or wrong. It's just what if you looked at it this way, and then you decided, oh, okay, I'm gonna live my life accordingly.
I love how you talked about honestly telling on yourself, because it sounds like what you were doing. Speaking as a millennial, and it's my experience as well that most millennials come from the perspective of, I know what's best for me. I know that the way that I see it is the right way or the only way. And there's a word that we call it. There's a term that's designed to really quantify that way of being, and we call it a fixed mindset. It appears to me that more and more teenagers have this fixed mindset that the way that they see the world is the only way. And then when you have a fixed mindset, you're really rigid about seeing it that way, and you're unwilling to see it any other way. And so when your parents are talking to you, trying to have you see it a different way or opening up a new possibility to look at it from a different angle, a lot of teenagers they get frustrated and get annoyed because they don't want to have that dialogue with their parents, because they're so committed to seeing it their way. That's usually what starts the argument. And it just seems like, from my experience, that a lot of teenagers have just grown up with this syndrome of, no, this is just the way it is, and I'm unwilling to see it any other way. Which if you don't learn how to crack that rigid mindset and start creating a more open mindset, you're gonna really struggle in life, because that one way is gonna be your limitation.
Yeah, and it's almost the stereotype, and oh, they're just a teenager, they're going through that. But that doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be that way. You can, through dialogue and just talking, they don't have to be that that unruly teenager, where they just lash out. They're lashing out because they finally can, and in their mind and everything, coming into their own. But then you can guide them rather than just throwing them away, I guess.
And one of the great things about the transformational teen training is, when kids come into this kind of a setting, we have some very powerful experiential exercises that really wakes these kids up through an experiential exercise, and they're able to see for themselves, oh, maybe it's not the way that I've been looking at it this whole time. And in these experiential exercises, there's a lot of ahas. I call them ahas, or realizations, or new moments to see something in a whole new way. And so there's so many of those happening in a 48-hour process that it starts to subtly have the youth look at their belief system and go, maybe the way that I have been so rigid and only looking at it one way, maybe there is multiple ways to look at something. And that's where personal power comes in. When you're able to train yourself to see your life, your circumstances, the world, that which way you live in, you're able to see it in multiple perspectives, is where personal power really lies. Because once you're able to see multiple ways of looking at something, then it gives you multiple choices to choose from. And with multiple choices to choose from, you can actually cause multiple different kinds of results, rather than the one or two or three ways that my rigid mindset only allows me to see. And so I think, especially working with a life coach, my job as a coach is to just play devil's advocate and open up different ways for you to see it. And your job as the student, or as the person who is on a personal growth journey, is to go, I never saw it like that before. And it's just to constantly be willing to just be open, because it starts with an open mind. You have to first be open.
Right.
Like I just sat with a client just probably about 45 minutes ago, and we were kind of going back and forth, and she kept going, but I don't see it like that. And I kept saying, that's the whole point of the conversation. So then I said to her, are you open to possibly seeing it like that? And she goes, I can't. And I said, I know that. And so it was funny. It looked like that Laurel and Hardy skit about who's on first. We were going back and forth. And finally she stopped and looked at me. She goes, oh, I get it now. She goes, you're not telling me to agree. You're just saying, am I open to possibly seeing it at some point? And I said, yes, that's all I'm saying. And so as soon as she said, yes, I'm open, it was no more than about 8 minutes before she goes, okay, now I can see it. it's so amazing how rigid our mindsets are that we don't even stop and ask ourselves, am I open to seeing it a new way? And so what's cool about the teen training is that these kids walk in with this, I call it arrogant. It's an arrogant way of looking at the world.
Yeah,
that it's,
I can
that
see
it's
that.
just it's only the way that I see it.
Yeah.
And if I can get them to look at it and invite them to look at it in different ways, in a more loving, playful way, and all of a sudden they see it for themselves and they go, okay, I got you now. And then all of a sudden we start picking up momentum. Minute by minute, hour by hour, we start to have multiple breakthroughs in the training room.
Yeah, and that's great once they're in the door. But I think a large battle is first getting them there. How would you go about telling parents? Because I think 100 out of 100 teens will not willingly go there.
That's right. That's right.
But how can parents enroll their kids to go to this training?
Well, it's a great question, and you're right. Not 99.9% of teens don't want to be there. I'll have that one leadership kid that's just they're a little bit more open, or their parents have a greater influence on them to get them to trust them and do things that their parents are guiding them. They'll show up. They'll be in attendance, but it'll be like one every 5 trainings. But for the most part, most of the other kids, they don't want to be there. In fact, I have the saying that 99% of the kids, the first minute of the training, don't want to be there. And then 99% of them at the end of the training don't want to go home because they're so excited and so uplifted and inspired that they're coming to me going, Alex, what's next? Because they're really, they've been awokened. They've been, the blinders have come off their eyes, and they're able to see so many beautiful possibilities for their life, but they're also able to see so many beautiful possibilities about themselves, and they start to see themselves in a different way as well. But to get back to your question, the best way to get your kids to the training room is by any means necessary, other than hurting them, other than doing it in a negative connotation. But I mean, I've seen tactics like, hey, let's barter, let's do a trade-off and find something within reason, other than saying I'm going to bribe you, because then we just have, maybe 2 out of 30 kids will be in there, and they're only there because you promised them $100 or something like that. But within reason, if you can negotiate with them, create an opening to be able to trust you a little bit with something to leverage to get them there, let's do it. Because 9 times out of 10, kids, when they go to these types of workshops, don't want to be there, but they're so grateful that their parents took that stand for them. It's one of those things that afterwards they're really thanking you, as a parent for taking that stand for them. 8 out of 10 of them, when they're thanking you, they're crying because it was such a powerful weekend that it brought them to tears because it moved them in an inspiring way.
That's great, because I wouldn't go by myself if I was, that teenager. Once again, I'm like,
you mean you want to
what is this?
You want to drag a friend or a cousin?
Yeah. I would say, like, okay, come with me.
Yeah, and it's happened a lot. A lot of times, they'll bring buddy pairs, or it'll be a brother, sister, or 2 cousins, or and sometimes that's such an amazing experience to have a family member in these trainings, because what happens is there's a bond that gets created with everybody in the training room. But to have a family member, like 2 brothers in a training room, is one of the most beautiful experiences that I've ever witnessed. To be able to go through some of these exercises and really lower your guard and be vulnerable and share in such a powerful way, it really creates an extraordinary bond and relationship with a brother or sister or cousins that you can't create anywhere else, unless possibly you guys go through some kind of traumatic experience together, or you've gone through some kind of grieving or loss together where you've bonded or something like that. And so, it's something powerful like that, I think, that really causes 2 people to really connect with each other and create an extraordinary relationship with each other. But I'll tell you what, we come back from the break, we'll talk more about the Teen Life Leadership Training right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
If you are a small business owner or self-employed and owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call Anthem Tax Services today. 866-630-2694. We have saved millions of dollars in tax debt, and our goal is to reduce your tax debt to as little as possible. We are confident enough in our services to offer a 100% money-back guarantee. Call for a free consultation, and we'll also take care of your tax case study for free. 866-630-2694. 866-630-2694.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Your hometown station.
It can happen at any time. Breaking news in the Santa Clarita Valley. KHTS has you covered. Brush fires, emergency freeway closures, police activity. If it's happening in the SCV, we'll let you know about it with our breaking news coverage. Keep a channel preset to your hometown station, KHTS.
98.1 FM and AM 1220. Hometown, your hometown station.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. Today we're talking about the Teen Life Leadership Training that's going down February 15 to 16. It is a 2-day workshop from 10 a.m. to about 5 p.m. on both days. We got a graduation ceremony on Sunday that the kids are really honored to be a part of this workshop because, you know, maybe for the first time in their life, they got an opportunity to really allow themselves to recognize how truly extraordinary they are or might be, whether they believe in it or not, to have a group of people really celebrate them and speak to their greatness and remind them that they were born with a purpose, and then really create some opportunities in these interactive exercises to look at themselves and recognize that there is some greatness within them. You know, it's one thing to have your parents tell you you're amazing and you have all this potential. And I think that for most kids, they kind of get parent deaf when their parents try to, you know, acknowledge them. It's almost like that, well, you're supposed to say that because you're my mom, right?
Exactly. After a while, it's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
And you're not even hearing what they're saying.
Yeah, exactly. But to actually have a different group of people in your community validate you or acknowledge you or see you in your potential and then speak to it or point it out to you is something special. And I remember when I was a kid, you know, there were people in the community, I think, that really saw my greatness and reminded me, and it could be on a football team or any kind of a sports or extra activity outside of the home, where you had somebody who just validated you. It was just a great feeling to go, oh, someone else other than the people that really love me the most just acknowledged me and validated that I can do something great. I can do something extraordinary. It's almost like being spotted doing something great in the community, like picking up a piece of trash when you think no one's watching, and then someone, you know, of your peers goes, hey, you know, that's a great attribute that you have. Like, thank you for making our community clean. And you're like, oh, you saw that, right? So it's something about kids that really need to be validated. And they need to be validated not by mom and dad. I mean, it's great that mom and dad are doing that, but at a certain point, I think kids just develop this, well, you're supposed to say that, rather than, hey, Mom, thank you for validating me. I really am looking for that validation from you. But kids don't realize that they still need that validation from their parents, and parents keep doing it because they really want it, really need it, even though they brush it off. But on top of that, they also really need someone else, like an uncle or a next door neighbor or a grandparent. They need someone outside of the inner circle to be validating them. And that's what I think we do special in our training, is that, my staff and I are really committed to seeing your kids in their greatness and then speaking to it, and then just reminding them of all the special gifts they have within inside them, regardless of the talent. Whether they're talented at something or not, there's something unique and special about them, and we really highlight that. And what's amazing is that as we start speaking to that greatness, there's something inside of the kid. They start wiggling. It's like the spirit inside of them is like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, keep going. Keep telling me the things that I consciously need to realize and recognize for myself. And one of the greatest gifts that kids are able to receive for themselves in these transformational teen trainings is that they realize for themselves how amazing they are. It's not so much that someone else is telling them they're amazing. It's the moment that you go, you know what? That was pretty cool. Like when you can raise your hand and be really nervous, and you raise your hand and you actually share, and you might be sharing and you got that. And I know everyone's had this before, because you've been nervous before in the 30, 40 years that you've been on this planet, where you've been afraid of sharing, but you raise your hand anyways, and you shared out loud, and you heard yourself share, and when you were done, you got that round of applause, or somebody validated that what you shared was important, or even someone stood up and said, hey, Mike, thanks for sharing that. I needed to hear that. There's something powerful about having someone validate that what you shared was important, and that someone got value out of it. That's the power of this training, is that you, in your own accord, recognize that, one, you have a voice, two, there's this powerful spiritual voice inside you that's guiding you, but you don't know it's there unless we create an environment for you to actually see it and then practice speaking from it. And so there's so many beautiful miracles. I call them little tiny miracles of personal growth that come out of the context of this workshop.
And that's huge, because one thing that as a teenager that would validate is just being heard oftentimes.
That's right.
Because you're not.
That's right.
Or your parents, hear you or are busy and, kind of hear you and brush you off, or not really, you're not at that place where you can sit down and have a real what's on your mind type of deal, not just, I'm feeling okay, I'm feeling fine. But that's what you get with your friends and your peers. But when it's what you truly feel, other than, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm okay, when you actually, dive into that, and then somebody actually says, great, or hears you, then you feel that validation, which is really heavy with teenagers.
That's a great point, because I want to point out this possibility that as a parent, when your son or daughter comes to you and they're sharing with you, you might not be listening from neutral ears. Most parents, when we listen to our kids share, what we're trying to do is we're listening from a place of trying to fix it, or trying to course correct it, or maybe even trying to defend it or justify whatever it is they're saying. And then when the next word out of our mouth, if we're really paying attention to our kids, as soon as we start speaking, you can see the disappointment in our kids. And if you put some words that, like a little bubble top of their head, it's probably saying, see, Dad, you didn't even hear what I just said to you.
Yeah.
And we as human beings, or as parents, don't realize that we have a certain area of improvement in our ability to listen to our kids. And so I need you to be open to possibilities that your kids have a deficiency when it comes to being heard. Because as a parent, you have some insecurities that get in the way of you listening neutrally, so that your son or daughter feels like they were heard and validated in that moment. And so the training room creates that little vacuum for you to step into with all your courage as a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old, and share whatever's on your heart, and you're heard for what you shared, and you don't necessarily get any advice, or no one has to really respond to you. And just when you're done getting it out, just to hear just a whole group of people start clapping for you, you feel like, man, like I needed that 1,000 times in my home and never got that level of, I hear you, kid. That alone is priceless. You cannot pay for that. Not in therapy, not nowhere. But what's amazing is in a transformational training center, there's so many beautiful healing and validating and nurturing growth that we need emotionally as children that we don't even know what we know. You don't know what you don't know. And that's that your kids need this space to really try to figure out who they are. What I love most about the space is that it's a neutral space for kids to look at themselves and discover their own fears. It's a space for them to really mindfully look and notice all of the insecurities they have. It's a space for them to acknowledge that maybe I do have a limiting belief. And if I was to have limiting beliefs, what would they be? My first limiting belief would be that I don't think that I'm smart enough. I don't think that I'm talented enough. And then where does that come from? It probably comes from all the times that I hear either my dad, not saying attaboy or I'm proud of you or whatever it is. You got to remember that as kids, we make up these beliefs, some of them positive, some of them negative. And it's the negative ones that really sabotage our potential. And the crazy thing about those beliefs is that 90% of those beliefs aren't even true. They're not real. They're made up beliefs that our ego makes up because we don't have enough information. So the classic example I like to use is that we create limiting beliefs about ourselves. We create limiting beliefs about our parents. We create limiting beliefs about the world that aren't necessarily true. But because we made them up, they're true to us. So here's one great example. Tommy has a moment that he needs to be recognized and validated that he did a great job. So he goes looking for dad to get validated by dad. And dad could be either in his home office worrying about bills, or in the garage working on a car and frustrated because he can't figure out what's wrong with the car. And in that moment, your son needs to be validated and heard. Just a quick moment. It could be 3 minutes of unconditional love, just a space where you give him your full attention and just hear him out and just validate him for whatever it is he's trying to get validated for. And when he finally finds you and goes, Dad, look what I got. Look what I did. And you go, not right now, Tommy. Give me a minute. Tommy doesn't hear not right now. He doesn't hear give me a minute. Mm-hmm. What he hears is my dad never has time for me. My dad doesn't care. Or nothing I do is ever good enough for my dad to stop and see and recognize what I'm doing. Now, those are 3 limiting beliefs out of probably 100 that Tommy or little Johnny can create, that he has created, and then goes the rest of his life looking for evidence to prove those 3 are true. Now imagine as a parent not realizing your son or daughter has hundreds of limiting beliefs about him or herself that you're unaware of. And if you're unaware of it, you better be sure that they're unaware that they have these limiting beliefs. And those limiting beliefs are the perspectives that they look through to navigate their life. And, you wonder why they struggle, right?
Yeah, and then exactly, I was going to say, and you wonder why, down the road a few years later, as a parent, you have the question, why does my kid not talk to me or at all? Mm-hmm. And then it just stems from what you just said. Those little nuggets of time just build up over it and then have that limiting belief from the child's perspective of, well, they don't care, so why talk to them?
Right. Now, you're calling me when they're 17 or 18 years old, and you want to do a coaching session because Tommy doesn't want to spend time with you no more. And now all of a sudden you're going through a phase where you want to spend time with Tommy, and you're like trying to get him to invite him to go hang out with you. And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm going out with my friends. Not realizing that Tommy needed you to be present and give him that conscious father and that awareness and really being present and validating him in those moments. And it's not a good, bad, right or wrong thing. It's just how we parent unconsciously. We don't realize it. Mm-hmm. And so what happens in the training room is the kids get an opportunity to acknowledge that they have limiting beliefs, and they get to identify what some of those are. And the cool thing about it is that they get to realize that I created this limiting belief. And it's not necessarily true that my dad doesn't love me, doesn't care, is not there. It could be something as simple as my dad was frustrated in that moment. My dad was, fear was coming up for him about how to pay the bills or worrying about something. And so it could have been something other than making it about me, that something was missing in me. And so if we can help kids really go back and look at all those limiting beliefs and realize that those limiting beliefs might not necessarily be real, then we uncover a whole new world for these kids. Now all of a sudden they can go back and go, man, you know what? This whole time I've been making up these beliefs that aren't true.
And that's big because it's not only with your parents; it's with every relationship you have.
Absolutely.
And going forward, you're like, wait, why are they mad at me? Like, and then you stop, you question yourself, and then that just propels you to a different way of thinking.
That's right. It opens up a whole new possibility that I really need to be mindful of the beliefs that I make up, the stories I create. And then we teach your kids how to realize that they're the meaning maker to their own reality through the beliefs.
What do you mean by that?
That's good. This is
got
bad.
it.
This is right. This is wrong. Instead of, no, it's just something that happened first. So something happened. It's an event that happened, and it's just something that happened first before you decide that's good, that's bad, that's right, that's wrong. And so what most of us do is an event happens and we automatically give it a judgment. So imagine something happening in your life and you decide that's bad and that's wrong and that shouldn't be. You're all riled up and you're all angry now and you're all in resistance to what's happening, and you're depressed and you're feeling all those negative emotions. And you go, Alex, aren't you angry? Aren't you mad? Because I was there at the same event. I go, no, I'm not. And you go, how? And I go, I didn't see what you saw. I mean, we saw the same event, but I didn't interpret it the same way. I didn't give it the same meaning. You decided that what happened was bad and wrong and shouldn't be happening, and that got you all riled up. I looked at it and gave it a different meaning. And the meaning I gave it was, well, it just happened, so maybe it happened for a reason. Let's try to mindfully figure out why it happened and what does it mean to me, and then where do I want to go from there. Meanwhile, you're upset, you're angry, you want to start arguing with people, and you're in this whole mess, psychological mess, because of how you interpreted it. So what would it look like if we taught your kids how to interpret their life first from a neutral standpoint? And then decide, take a little deep breath, and then decide, okay, is this good? Is this bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? Should it have happened? Or maybe it just happened for a reason, and let's try to figure out what the reason is instead of giving it a judgment.
Okay. And
what happens is when you start teaching people how to interpret from a neutral place, you start realizing that they're able to find the good spin on interpreting more events that happen in their life rather than seeing it from the negative spin.
Right. And how are you saying not to be angry or in the moment, because you're going to feel something in the moment either way. But are you more saying don't go the path of that was a bad thing, that's all it can be? Yeah. So here's an example. You and me we're eating lunch, right? And we both valet our car. And the valet guy comes by and he throws our keys on the table and goes, I got to go, get your own cars. And he walks off. And the keys come and just, knock down some of the utensils. And you're like, yo, that was rude. And you're really upset and you're really angry. Yeah. And you're like, I want to talk to the manager because that's not cool and he shouldn't have done that. And you're all riled up. And then the waitress goes, well, our manager's not here. And she's trying to give you the answer you want. But you reacted to that because you decided that was wrong, that was rude, that was disrespectful, and I need to. And meanwhile, I'm eating my burger, and I've just got a big smile on my face. And meanwhile, you're trying out of the anger to try to complete how you interpreted all that. And you're like, aren't you mad? And I go, nah. And you're like, why? And I say to you, because I didn't interpret the same thing you interpreted. But we agree we were both standing there and saw the same thing, right?
We saw the same event happen where he threw both of our keys, not just yours, but both of our keys.
And I'm mad.
Yeah, you're mad. You're all riled up because you gave it a certain meaning. That was wrong. That was rude. That was disrespectful. And so now, out of making those judgments, it caused a negative emotion, anger, anxiety, frustration. Now you're dealing with all those emotions. I didn't choose those perceptions. I chose to see it as, wow, maybe he got a call from his pregnant wife that she is delivering her child, or was in an accident, or maybe he got fired and he just didn't know, was frustrated and his fear came up, and he wanted to storm out. Like, you know what I mean? I interpreted it multiple different ways other than the one way, which was rude, disrespectful. So I'm freed up to be able to make an interpretation that was more empowering rather than one that was disempowering. And so that's just one example of how we're the meaning maker to our own reality through our interpretations. So imagine if you teach a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old kid how to look at things first for what they are, and then be mindfully aware of I get to create its own meaning. And if I'm going to create my own meaning, am I going to create it in a negative way so it causes negative emotions, or am I going to choose to see it in a positive way that can free me up to figure out what to do with it next, and where to go from here? How to see it as it happened, now what? If it is what it is, so what? Now what? If it's to be, it's up to me. I got to figure out now where to go from here. How do I want to navigate? Look for solutions rather than being into resistance that it happened and I don't know, it shouldn't be happening, and why did it happen to me? And you go down this whole negative road of misery and suffering. And as human beings, no one teaches us this.
Right. I didn't know that. As a teenager, something bad, I'm like, oh man, it's just me. And then I just go down, like you said, down that dark rabbit hole of negative thoughts.
That's right.
And feelings. And it's just, that's what it is. Because that's what
and we all do, including myself, prior to having an awakening in somebody teaching me that I'm the meaning maker to my own reality, that I can actually consciously choose my own interpretations that either empower me or disempower me. Now imagine sending your kids to a class or a workshop where people get to inspire them and teach them those kinds of powerful concepts so that they understand that, and they're able to now navigate their life looking from the perspective of it is what it is, so what, now what? If it's to be, it's up to me. Imagine you, mom or dad, frustrated and angry, and your son goes, Dad, just let's go, come on. And, let's just handle this. Give me the bill. We'll figure it out. And imagine your kid giving you the advice to stay calm, just relax. It's just something that happened, and we'll figure this out. And now you're 12 or 15-year-old sitting there encouraging you that it's not that big of a deal. If you choose to see it a different way, you're going to be dumbfounded. You're going to go, who are you? Where'd you come from? Where'd this kid come from? But what a beautiful gift to give your kids, this awakening and this ability to be taught how to navigate their life in such a powerful way through these gifts that we all have inside of us, if we're just taught how to tap into them and if we're taught how to perceive in such a powerful way. And those are just again, I mean, we're kind of just scratching the surface on, hundreds of different beautiful tiny miracles that happen in a powerful training like the Teen Life Leadership Training that's happening. Again, I only do 2 a year, February 15th and 16th. It's in 3 weeks. The way you get there, one, if you're listening to the show, trust that it's going to be a beautiful, empowering experience for your kids. And then just take that trust and just sign them up at eventbrite.com, the Teen Life Leadership Training with Alex Urbina. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina radio show right here on your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, STV.
your hometown station.
Our news team at KHTS is constantly working to keep you informed. If you want the latest and greatest information on the Santa Clarita Valley, just sign up for the KHTS newsletter. SCV News delivered directly to your email inbox every weekday by 5 p.m. and a special weekend edition on Sundays. All it takes is an email address and you're set. Go to hometownstation.com to register.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Fruit arranged like flowers? What a delicious idea! Edible Arrangements specializes in creating a variety of fresh fruit arrangements overflowing with fresh, hand-designed fruit and filled with strawberries, pineapple, grapes, cantaloupe, honeydew, and seasonal favorites. Made to order in a size you select and ready to eat and enjoy. You can even add chocolate to any arrangement. Edible Arrangements is always fresh, always appropriate, and always appreciated. Order yours today, 253-0052 or ediblearrangements.com. Edible Arrangements is on Soledad near Bouquet Canyon.
My favorite restaurant in Santa Clarita? Salt Creek Grill, of course. Great food, neat atmosphere.
For a business lunch or romantic dinner, I'll always go to Salt Creek.
Hi, I'm Greg Amsler, owner of Salt Creek Grill. We have created Salt Creek to provide you with the most comfortable and inviting restaurant in Santa Clarita. Enjoy fresh mesquite grilled fish, aged steaks, and the best chops imaginable. There's entertainment every Friday and Saturday night, and we have the best Sunday brunch in town. Salt Creek is on Town Center Drive in Valencia.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. And today we're talking about the Teen Life Leadership Training. It's a very powerful 2-day workshop designed to help teenagers really examine their own self-awareness. It's really a journey of personal growth and an introduction to being self-aware and just noticing what you choose, where you're choosing from, and really help you become more conscious, more mindful of some of the choices that you're making so that you can learn how to navigate your life in a more powerful way instead of choosing from fear or choosing from neediness or choosing from being pessimistic or choosing from being reactive. So it's a very powerful workshop that I've been doing for the last 20 plus years in training rooms all across the country and in different parts of the world to really help kids be more mindful, more self-aware, and really helping them on their journey of leadership development.
Right. Now, we mentioned earlier this gives, teens a chance to open up and be heard, which they might not have in their life yet. But what does it look like? Are parents there, or is it no parents? Or anything like that, just the teens?
So this training, the first one, the Teen Life Leadership Training, is just for your teens only. So what will happen is there'll be about 18 to 32 kids that'll be dropped off in that morning. They'll go through a registration process. After you sign the forms, they get their name tag. The doors open. Kids come in. It's very awkward the first minute you walk in. It's awkward because kids don't want to be there.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They're in resistance. They're mad. They're upset at their parents. So as a parent, you just got to go. You just got to be willing to go through it, and trust that when you turn them over, that Alex is going to do his magic, and my team are loving enough and inviting enough and seasoned enough to have gone through so many of them that the kids slowly start to be welcomed and they start to feel a little safer. And that the training unfolds minute by minute, hour by hour, and it's designed a specific way. So they're nervous, they're upset, they're probably even mad at you, and you want to give them a hug or a kiss or say goodbye. They're probably mad at you, like, just go, right? Yeah. Do you need any money? I got it, just go, all right? So you're gonna leave them there. Most parents would probably drive off feeling like, man, what did I do to my kid? He's mad at me. But what'll happen is when all those kids get in that training room, and I come to the front of the room, I just immediately start speaking to their greatness. And I don't even really know any of them, but I just start speaking to the potential of their greatness. You're amazing. You were born with a purpose. You might not know what your purpose is, but there's something unique about you that the world needs from you. And your job in this lifetime is to figure out what that purpose is. And if and when you find the courage to discover what your purpose is, you'll be living a purpose-driven life, and it's the only beautiful way to live your life with freedom, joy, love, and abundance. And what would it look like if you got paid handsomely for your contributions to the world? And I go on this tangent of really painting this beautiful picture that kids aren't really spoken to like that. And at a certain point, we start introducing them into what the training looks like. We do a couple of icebreakers, and we give them a chance to kind of be a part of something that they don't really, they probably don't really want to be a part of it, but slowly they kind of get tugged into, they get pulled into this fun environment where we're learning, but we're having fun. And the kids start laughing and opening up. And so it's this awkward first hour of kind of explaining to them what we're going to do, both verbally and experientially. And before you realize it, we've embarked on this journey together. And right before lunchtime, I've given them a taste of how powerful and how profound this training can be, but it's only a taste. And then at lunchtime, I give each and every one of them a chance to actually go home. And I'll tell them, look, if this training's not for you, I get it. This training's for warriors. It's for little mini champions that might believe for a moment that maybe that you are created with a mighty purpose, and your job is to figure out what that is, and that you can be a force to be reckoned in this lifetime, and you can actually live a beautiful life if you're willing to go down this journey. And I'm going to tell you, 99% of the time, I get everybody to return back from lunch. However, if I haven't enrolled you in the first 3 hours to see the value for yourself, to want to be there for yourself, not because your mom made you or promised you an Xbox or whatever it is, if I haven't done that, then I haven't done my job. And I'm pretty good at getting, 99% of the kids back. I'll lose one, maybe every 5 or 6 trainings that at lunchtime we'll have to call their parents and apologize and say, hey, maybe little Johnny or Jennifer, just for whatever reason, her fear came up and the timing's not right. And we try to soften it a little bit for the kids so that they're not driving home hearing their mom or dad give them a lecture like, see, every time I send you, that kind of stuff. We try to soften it, and we try to take responsibility for it, because at the end of the day, you can force your kids to go, but you can't make them be ready to step up and really be willing to look at themselves or be willing to change. This type of training, as much as you make your kids go, you can't force them to learn. You can't force them to have a hero's heart. But for the most part, I would say 99% of the time, we get kids that they choose in. And so after lunch, kids come in and they walk in the training room, and there's a piece of tape on the floor in the middle of the training room. And then what I do is I invite each one of them one at a time to walk up to the line, and they have to convince me that they see value, and they got to tell me what the value is. And then I get to now decide whether I want them on the team or not. So it's like a self-selection. Oh, wow. So it's weird. Like in 3.5 hours, it totally switches. Because in the morning they're there thinking, my parents made me come.
Yeah.
By lunchtime.
They don't want to be there.
That's right.
Now they're like, why do you want to be here?
That's right. Now we switch it on them, and now they have to qualify to be a part of our team. And by that time, they've already, in a short 3 hours, they've already gone through some very powerful experiences that really hit them at their core. Really it touched their heart, or it moved them spiritually to go, maybe there's something here. Mm-hmm. They look around at me, they look at my team, and they go, maybe I can really trust these people. They sound authentic, and I like this feeling, and I like what this is about. Even though it might be new or I've never experienced it before, I like the vibe, I like the feel. And so then we decide, one at a time to come to the line, and then each kid gets to choose to be there for themselves. And then 9 times out of 10, I really kind of accept them all. If you just give me some version of, I want to be here, I don't know what it is, but it's something about, I'm going to let you come across, right? We'll lose maybe, like I said, 1 or 2 that either won't come back to the line at lunch, we'll send them home at lunch, or they'll make it back in the room, and at the line, their fear comes up. that they end up stepping out in the hallway, and then my staff is trained already. They know how to go out there, either re-engage them to inspire them to come back. That happens a lot. Or we just say, we decide for them outside in the hallway that, maybe it's not your time, and then we send them home.
Right, and this it isn't easy, but at the end, I feel your kids and teenagers will be that much better for it, and that will rub off on the parents as well, I believe.
Absolutely.
Just this new way of thinking.
When parents come into the training room for the graduation on Sunday, you can see the light in your kid again. If you don't, some kids' light, it goes out because they've just been either bullied or feel like, they made these limiting beliefs that mom doesn't care, or I'm not loved, or I'm not important, or why am I here? No one listens to me anyways. They got all these limiting beliefs and stories validating that they're not wanted in this world, or they're alone, or whatever it is. All of a sudden now they go to this workshop and you can see a light that either you haven't seen in a long time, or a light that you forgot what it looked like because that light slowly went out. When something slowly disappears, you don't realize that it's gone. It's kind of like gaining weight. Like you just, you don't realize you're gaining more weight till someone goes, yo, you packing on some pounds. You're like, really? And then all of a sudden you go back to the mirror because someone else said it. Now you go, oh man, I have, right? So you slowly, gradually, that light goes out in our kids. It's just that light of hope. It's the light of questioning whether, they matter, especially in a world that is filled with social media and all of the attempts to try to portray yourself as being somebody that you might not be. Kids in today's world are trying to measure themselves to all the people on social media that are preparing to project themselves in a certain way. All right, that's all the time we have. Thanks for joining us on the Alex Urbina radio show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.